I mean, what I also really want to do is I want to commentate. I want to be on the sideline for Ninja Warrior. That's what I would also love to do.
Yes.
If they called me up tomorrow, I'd be like, cool. That was my last competition. I'm like hands down. If they called me, I'd be done.
Hey, welcome to the Ninjababes podcast. I'm here with Meagan Martin. Hello.
Hello.
Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
I'm so glad to be talking with you. And you've been on the podcast once before, but never in video, in color, in form. Here we are.
I know. I'm excited to be in video too. It's very exciting and happy to be back.
Yes, it's great to have you. You're no stranger to the Ninja Warrior scene. I feel like a lot of people know who you are if they're listening to this podcast. But Meagan, you've been doing awesome past couple seasons on A&W. Can't quite talk about A&W 13 yet because it's still happening, but everyone's looking forward to seeing how you do this season. And it's just great to have you back. So can you tell people a little bit more just about your background even before A&W? You were also climbing gymnastics. So just real quick synopsis.
Yeah, I mean, my background in sports started in gymnastics. I was a gymnast when I was a kid, basically from birth. My mom was a gymnastics coach, so she had me in the gym very early. And I quit gymnastics when I was about 10, and I was a level 9 at that time. And that's when I luckily happened upon rock climbing, because being from Florida, it's not the most obvious sport choice. And I didn't have any like climbers in my family. So it was a happy accident to find climbing because I became obsessed with it right away. Climbed for 4 years as a kid, started doing professional competitions when I was like 12. But then I kind of started to feel burnt out, and I got into high school and decided, I'm going to try pole vaulting. So picked that up in high school and then did that through college at Vanderbilt University in Nashville, Tennessee. And then near the end of college realized, I really miss climbing. Maybe I want to get back into that once I graduate. All my friends were like going to grad school or like trying to get into law school. And I was like, I think I'm going to be a professional rock climber. I think that's what I'm going to do. And all of their parents were like, interesting choice. That's cool. And so then that ended up working out. And in 2014, I basically there was an email circulating around about Ninja Warrior and how they wanted more women to try it. And I was like, cool. I watched the Sasuke show when I was in high school a few times. And so I was like, that could be fun. And just decided to make a submission video, and then ended up in Denver on the course in Nike Freeze, not knowing what I was doing, and completed the course my rookie season. And from there, it's all been a domino effect of being involved in American Ninja Warrior.
Yeah. Well, it's awesome to have you, and so many people look up to you, and it's not just because you're a great ninja or you're a great athlete. It's your personality is so welcoming and friendly, and I think you've been a staple in the community just of who you are and your voice. So appreciate you.
Thank you. I love hearing that. When I used to coach climbing, I felt like I was always trying to express that to the kids. It's like, it's great to be good at something, but we're also trying to make sure we have a bunch of good humans here. That's always the goal.
Yes. Yep. Training up good humans.
Yeah.
I like that. So that kind of leads right in to my first question is, why do you care about having more girls in sports in general?
So I think, I'm one of 3 girls, and I was lucky enough to come from a family where we all did sports, and we've always been very active. And that was kind of just like the natural trajectory that we took. But, the longer I've been in sports, the more I've noticed how girls don't really stay in sports as long as boys do. I mean, you see this too, just when it comes to professional female athletes, there's not as many of them. There's definitely a big pay gap. So I think it makes it a little harder to get, girls interested in sports. There's lots of distractions. There's lots of old ideas that would maybe be impressed upon girls to make them think that they can't stay in sports, which isn't cool. So yeah, for me, it's just important to see more girls find sports that they love and realize that if they want to do this for a long time, they can. And I just think we need more people being out there and setting that example. And I think that in the last 5 years, it seems like it's gotten a bit better, which I can only hope that it just continues to go that way.
Yeah. Do you feel like for yourself, there was ever a time, whether in high school or a different point in age, that you felt like, oh, maybe I shouldn't do this, maybe I shouldn't do sports, or how did you feel personally?
So it was really interesting because when I stopped climbing, the first thing my parents said when I started pole vaulting, it was like, oh, cool. Like now this is a sport where you could get a scholarship to college for. Because with climbing, that wasn't possible. And so my dad was actually the first person in his family to go to college, and he went on a gymnastics scholarship. And so that was always impressed upon us very early on, that like your goal is to find a sport, do well at it, and well enough to not have to pay for college. So that was kind of always my initial goal. So I think it made it easy for me to want to stick with it, because that just seemed to be what my parents wanted us to do, and I'm a rule follower. Which I always think is like a little boring, but whatever. It's also good for some things. Um, so I think that made it easier for me to want to stay in sports. And I've always, and maybe because I had sisters, we've always had a great, like, supportive, friendly competition vibe. And so I've always loved competing. And I don't know if that's mainly because I was kind of like that at home. Like we used to race around the house for everything. I actually talked about this in my season 13 interview. Like I actually knocked my sister's tooth out one time because we were racing to the bathroom, purely accidental. We just both tried to fit through the doorway, and like my elbow accidentally went into her mouth, and she had like a loose tooth and it just kind of popped out. But yeah, I think just being super competitive has always made me like be drawn to sports and made me want to stick with it.
Yeah, that makes sense. Looking back to, I Googled you super hard one time. Actually, it wasn't you specifically. I think I was just Googling like girls in sports, like Ninja Warrior girls in sports. And then your name came up and I was like, oh, Meagan Martin, what does she say about it? And so I found, I found an article that had from ESPN Sports back in
Mm-hmm.
2019. And so I'm just going to read a couple of the quotes that you said there to keep talking on this topic. But you had said, sports has completely shaped my life. I want to do the same for the next generation of girls. They shouldn't be ashamed of their power. Do you think that there's ways that society or culture or whatever it is, peer pressure, whatever, has made girls feel ashamed of their power?
Yeah, I think that for the longest time, even, I mean, like when I was growing up, there were female athletes, but I feel like there weren't as many to look up to. And I remember like growing up and being like so embarrassed by having like large biceps in middle school, and like being able to do like so many. I mean, I thought it was cool to be able to do so many pull-ups, but like I hated the fact that my biceps were so big, and I was like always so embarrassed, even though like without them, how could I do so many pull-ups? Um, but I think that uh, generally, when it comes to female athletes, like a big difference that I see with male athletes is it's completely normal for a male athlete to like be so proud of being hit, like talented and powerful, and like it's acceptable to be even like cocky sometimes. Whereas with women, I feel like oftentimes like we're still apologizing for things all the time. We like do something amazing and we kind of try to like downplay it sometimes, whereas men will be like, yeah, I did that, like I'm awesome. And I think it'd be cool if more women were like, yeah, I did that and it was awesome, because it's cool. But I think society has put these like barriers around women to where like we're supposed to be like, oh no, it wasn't that big of a deal. Like, I'm so sorry. I mean, thank you, but I don't know. I'm not that great, I feel like that needs to change. And there are athletes out there who are more confident in their successes and speak out about it more. And I think that's awesome. And we need to see more of that.
Yeah, I agree. I think the other thing is like, perhaps sometimes, especially with like junior high girls or girls in that like junior high to teenage age, um, it can just feel like to be in the spotlight if you're doing something unique, or even if you're the first one in gym class to like get this move in whatever sport you're playing, then to have the spotlight on you might bring added pressure. Or for immature boys or other immature kids who are like jealous of you, like, oh, you're a boy because you're doing that, or just calling names, like any sort of like name calling, no matter what it is, that can pinpoint people in a way that makes them feel like, oh, well, I don't want to be pointed out or seen like that, maybe I should hide in a corner kind of a deal.
Totally, like being embarrassed of your abilities, for sure. And like I feel like that was totally a thing that I felt. Like I felt that because I was stronger, I didn't ever feel like boys found me attractive. Even like they, they would always talk about like, oh, your muscles are bigger than mine, like you could probably beat me arm wrestling, whatever. And like still to this day I feel like men talk that way sometimes, and I'm like, oh yeah, whatever. Sure. But then you start to like see yourself in this way that like you don't think people like see you as feminine. And that's why I have also always been like super comfortable being quite feminine. I mean, I would say I still have like a tomboy side too, because like I love hanging out in the woods and like whatever, like that's normal for me. And I like climbed trees growing up, played in the dirt, like that was completely normal. But I also do have like a femininity to myself that I'm also proud of. And just because I have muscles doesn't mean I'm any less of a girl.
Yeah. Yeah. And like, it gets into a big conversation of like masculine versus femininity in general. But I think that the point, and I agree, is that just because you're female doesn't mean you have to be pigeonholed in a specific way.
Exactly.
And so just being able to celebrate all sides of you, I think is beautiful and amazing.
Which I think also is changing across the board too, right? I feel like with men too, it's becoming more gray, and like they're being able to like express their feminine side if they want to as well, which I love. I think it is so gray, and I think we don't have just one side. We're all like multi-dimensional. We're not just one thing, and I like that.
Yeah, totally. My husband is a therapist, and
that's awesome.
Yeah, it's really great. But he's really good at talking about his feelings, which like he's a therapist, yes, but in general, the fact that he can communicate so well, I really appreciate.
Yeah.
And he's always like, we'll be talking about friends we know or whatever, and just he's always bringing up the point of like, guys got to just be willing to talk about stuff. And like sometimes that's been a stereotype of like, oh, men don't share their feelings, or if you're a man, you're not going to
allowed
cry,
to, yeah,
or you're not. Yeah, exactly. And agreed. Like those stereotypes do not need to exist.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and like I sometimes feel bad for men because like we have so much liberty in being able to like express our fashion choices, and like it's becoming more acceptable for men, but it's kind of annoying that like people don't seem to think it's okay for men to like be fashionable, when it's like of course they should be able to. And that I always feel like a little bummed out if their like fashion sense is stifled.
Oh man. Rough day.
Yeah, right.
I know. As soon as I opened my camera, Meagan was like, "Nice scrunchie." And
yeah.
I was like,
Yeah. That's what I do love when anyone's pushing the norm, right? Like I have guy friends who like paint their nails, and I'm like, yes, this is awesome. I love that. Like, do it.
Yeah, I mean, just express yourself, right?
Yes, express yourself.
Yes. I wish I knew the words. I just know that.
Whatever you
that one
do.
line.
Yeah, I don't know much. Those 2 lines, that's it.
Express yourself. Okay. Are you one of those ninjas who loves to climb on anything, everywhere, no matter where you are? You always got to get your grip and your pull-up workout in. Well, I've got your solution. Have you heard of Duonamic? This is their Athleta product. It is their world's renowned portable pull-up system, and it's extremely easy to use. I just got mine recently, and I'm very impressed so far. So it's 2 clamps. They're able to clamp onto the door frame as long as it's a minimum of 1/4 inch thick on each side of the frame. They clamp in there. The cool thing is that you can make them as narrow or as wide as you want, and you can move it within seconds. It's very easy. And once you've got them clamped safely in the door frame, you use these hanging handles to do your pull-ups. So I will be doing a full extensive review video on these in the next couple weeks, but I wanted to share them with the community right away. I know a lot of other Ninja Warriors and climbers have used these for traveling, whether they're at a hotel room or Airbnb or a friend's house, and they want to be able to keep up with their workouts while they're away. This is such an amazing portable solution. They weigh 3.5 pounds, so not bad to have to fit it into a suitcase and still have to pass like your weight maximum and all that. They're not too heavy, but they're very like durable. They feel like a quality situation here in my hands. So I'm really excited to share more about them with you, but I've got to say you should head over to duonamic.com and get yourself a pair of these portable pull-up clamps and let me know what you think. Try them on your next ninja adventure, your next vacation, next time you head out and see some family. If you're traveling this summer, it's definitely going to be a really awesome option. The other cool thing about Duonamic is they also make something called power holds. And the power holds are a different type of grip attachment that you can use instead of just these handholds. It works with your LVS system to become a multi-use grip product. And so you can use those power holds to really get your ninja grip training in, and they're really cool. I don't have them here with me in front of me, but I've been eyeing it up on the website. So check it out. There's a lot of ninjas who train with these, and I think it's a really cool portable option. So you can head over to duonamic.com to see everything they offer there on the website. Thanks again, Duonamic, for sponsoring this episode. So Athleta, let's talk about Athleta for a second. So I know you started, if facts are right, did you start modeling and partnering with them in 2019, or was it sooner than that?
No, it was actually 2016. I literally went straight from filming that season of Ninja, which was season 8, I believe. I went straight from Indianapolis to New York to do my first shoot with them.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah.
How was that?
Running off of like a couple hours of sleep. It was awesome. I, again, didn't know what I was getting into. It was first time modeling, and I had the best time ever. And yeah, I just basically, it was like, oh, can you do this? Can you do that? And I kept doing the things, and I feel like that's why they still hire me. So I'm just thankful that I can like do the crazy like skills on set, basically.
Right. Yeah. So fun. That's awesome.
So much fun. I would do that every day if I could. Like if they wanted to hire me every single day, I'd be like, yes, I'm here.
You hear that?
I'm here for it. Yeah. Yes, I will work 365 days a year for you.
So I know that you've been modeling for them, but also some of the partnership stuff. Mm-hmm. I was reading online. There's another quote I could read to wow you with my quoting abilities. But basically, that same ESPN article was talking about how you had partnered with Athleta in celebration with National Girls and Women in Sports Day to encourage girls to stay in the game and push themselves beyond their limits. So, and then I found that commercial online as well. I was looking all over trying to creep on you and find the cool stuff that you've done.
I think that commercial was me and McKenna, I think. That's the one where like we're in the gym climbing and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she's amazing. She did American Ninja Warrior Junior actually twice. Oh, yeah. She so cool. is awesome. She is super athletic. She loves soccer. She's really good at soccer. And she is like the sweetest, cutest little kid ever. She's so much fun. We've got to work together a few times. And then when she did Ninja Junior the last time, we got to do a few like cute little things together, which was fun. But she is such a little beast, and I had the best time with her. It was so much fun. But yes, I love that Athleta is also all about keeping girls in sports. And it's just nice to see that so many people care, right? Because in reality, it's a normal feeling, unfortunately. And I felt this way, like being in NCAA too. It's like, you don't feel like people care about women's sports in general. So it's nice to see like brands going out of their way to like really highlight girls and women. Because I mean, you probably saw the drama with the women's basketball tournament stuff. It's like the men get all this stuff and the women got like a closet with a couple weights. But like if you were a collegiate athlete and you were a female collegiate athlete, you kind of know that that's how it goes. The NCAA is trying to like pretend that they really do care about female sports, but in reality, like they don't. And it's really messed up and should change. So I'm glad somebody like brought attention to it because it's a serious issue. The only good thing about it is when you go to school on an athletic scholarship as a female athlete, you do at least get the education you're promised because no one cuts you any slack. Like the men get cut all the slack, so they don't even walk away with like the same education that you do. So that's the only plus to, you know, the NCAA and all their funders not caring about women's sports. I got on a soapbox there for a second.
I did not know that. I would have never thought about that.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's actually really crazy. But yeah, I mean, more brands are standing up for women in sports, and I think that's awesome. And I mean, some of the greatest athletes in the world have been women. I mean, look at Serena Williams.
Oh yeah.
Simone Biles. Like you have some top tier athletes that they've medaled in ways or dominated their sports in ways that men have, and they're women. So it's like, we should get the same treatment and people should care about us. And I think they're starting to.
Yeah, I do think it's beginning to change, but it's like been a long time coming and like a lot of push to get here, and there's still a long way to go. So, this is why we keep talking about this.
Yeah.
Let's bring it to Ninja for a second. So, in American Ninja Warrior, the TV show, and a lot of other leagues, but let's talk about A&W for a second. We compete co-ed, and there's it's allowed women to have a platform that we're watching woman, man, like switching it up the whole time in an episode. So what do you think are benefits to competing co-ed in this sense, in this kind of a framework?
I think one of the benefits is just to show how competitive that women can be with the men. I think that is awesome for people to see, because I think for whatever reason, people still underestimate women. I think it's the same way people underestimate kids. It's like, you just think for whatever reason they're like, we're not going to do any as well as the men, and like kids won't do as well as adults, but like people are wrong in thinking either of those things. So I think that it's just another way to show people how strong women can be and how talented women can be. And also, it is cool to see how women might have to do things a little differently than the men, but still be successful on like the same obstacle. So I think those are definitely benefits to competing co-ed.
Do you think if something like A&W was only like a men's division, a women's division, or like separate courses, do you think we would see a big switch in viewership even for something like A&W?
Yeah, I do think that it would maybe not be as much of an anomaly. It's like really one of the only sports where you do see people compete on the same like co-ed competition actually happening. Every other, I'm sure I'm wrong, but I mean, I can't think of sports where they let people compete against genders, like different genders compete in the same arena. So, I mean, occasionally we have like a woman on a college football team, which is dope, but that's like rare. It just happened recently, actually, at Vanderbilt. But you don't see it very often. And so I think that is part of the draw, because it's so different from what you're seeing everybody else do. I mean, I remember like Bethany Hamilton surfed a wave that mostly only men surf, which is awesome to see. But these are just like very specific examples.
Right.
So I think there's something about it that really draws people in, because it's so different.
Yeah, and I think, okay, so now stepping out to like the broader scene and sport of ninja, I know so many girls and women start Ninja Warrior because they see it on TV, they think it looks amazing, and they're inspired. And I've heard some women who've, we ask a lot of like, what do you think, and we get feedback from the general audience. And there's some women who feel like, yeah, if it split and became like a women's course, men's course, like so many girls would be uninspired, and because they wouldn't notice the women as much. This is what people have said, comments. So they wouldn't notice the women's runs as much because it wouldn't get as much airtime, it wouldn't get as much press or whatever compared to the men's, and so it would just kind of like get pushed into the distance. And so maybe girls who might be inspired might not be inspired. Okay, possibly. But there's also like the argument of the only reason it's, I don't really necessarily agree with this, but people have said the only reason what the women are doing seems impressive is because they're doing it alongside a guy. And so it's like the women are trying to do what the guys are doing. That's why it's impressive. Not just that like the women's skill in itself is impressive.
Yeah. I mean, I guess we're going to see what people think, since we're like the women's championship will air on Mother's Day. So that's going to be the closest thing to seeing just women compete on the course. And I mean, I think it's great to have both options. Like, I would never want to not be able to compete against the men. But it is nice to have the opportunity to compete against all of the other strong women. Because in reality, sometimes we don't get to compete against each other, right? Because we're in different regions. Doing the women's championship, that was so cool. Being able to be out there with all of these strong women, and some of which I had never actually got to compete against. And it's funny too, because I mean, I don't know how you feel, but when I see who I'm competing against in a day, like sometimes you're like, oh man, like that's scary. But then now having competed against like everybody in one day, I'm like, cool, it doesn't really matter who's competing. I mean, it never really does,
Right.
but it is like funny because it's like all of a sudden you're like, huh, I mean, no matter what, like you just do your own thing. And it just really solidifies that, like having all of these like top women in one competition, you know? But yeah, I think the best part also about having that opportunity to do the women's championship is the fact that now we have like a real opportunity to make money. One thing I could get behind is if we got top fastest time for men gets like their money, and then top fastest time for women. Cause I see that, like, I mean, as women, we're doing well and we can complete courses and stuff, but oftentimes the men are still a lot faster. So it would be cool to see that, just so we had some more opportunity to walk away with a little change.
Right. On AW.
Yeah, on
no,
AW.
totally.
But that's like,
Yeah.
But again, just the fact that they gave us the opportunity to win $50,000, like that's amazing. I'm so happy about that.
Oh, totally. Yeah, for sure.
Like, that's
definitely.
dope. You know, I thought it was $15,000 originally too. I didn't even realize it was 50 until like halfway through the competition.
Oh boy, what a surprise!
It was a lovely surprise. I was like, oh, whoa, that's a lot of money. I had no idea.
Wow.
Way to read the paperwork. You just get so used to signing.
Yeah, it's a lot of pages of reading.
So many pages of reading. Yeah.
Thinking about like the sport of ninja, do you think that there could be any benefit in the future to separating courses, or do you feel like it should stay co-ed, end of story?
I mean, I know there's like a push to get ninja in the Olympics, and I feel like if that happened, they would separate it, just knowing how the Olympics works. So that'll be interesting to see how that goes. I don't think the courses should ever change. I mean, and in most ninja competitions, right? They like outside of the show as well. It's like they don't change, and there are different standings for men and women, right?
Correct. Yeah.
So
correct.
I'm down with that. I don't think the courses should change. I think it's awesome that we're always on the same course as the men. I think that that's totally valid. I think that's awesome. I don't think that should change. No, even if like Olympics, whatever, always the same course.
Yeah. Yeah. I do enjoy being on the same course as well. I do appreciate that we have separate standings.
Mm-hmm.
I would like that to stay the same. The one thing that I've observed and a lot of people have talked about this year on the podcast is how still sometimes there's some courses that seem like they had men and women testers. They really thought a lot about different types of body heights and things like that. And sometimes it seems like only like the best guys tested on this course. And so anyone besides that is going to have a hard time. And so I've talked to a few girls who've been a part of like competitions across the country for NNL this year. And some have said like, it's still real frustrating when for the women, it ends up being like a fight to the second obstacle, who can complete the second obstacle the fastest when guys are completing the courses. And in some sense, like we're going to keep training, we're going to keep working harder. But at the same time, like, how can we make courses that are a bit more fair for men and women if we're going to be competing co-ed?
Yeah.
So that's a question we're trying to, I think, do a better job about.
Yeah. And I mean, I think that just comes down to testing, right? And really thinking outside of the box. And that's like a thing with climbing as well. I mean, when route setters set boulders and routes and they forerun it, they have to try to be cognizant of all the different body types, heights, and like reaches and whatever. And it's sometimes hard, and like you make mistakes, right? And you realize later, oops, like that was a little bit too scrunchy, or that was a little bit too reachy. And it's like, unfortunately, that kind of stuff happens. And I think that's kind of like the same growing pains that probably Ninja is going through outside of the show. I feel like within the show, they've gotten a lot better at trying to have different heights and stuff. But that's like, I mean, that's such a big production. So it's so different from like an NNL or a UNAA, or, I mean, UNX, whatever. Like I've only ever done one NNL comp. So like I have no idea.
In your whole life?
Yeah. Because I don't mean,
Oh, wow.
I only did it too because
It's
I was
okay.
living in Colorado still, and I used to go to Ninja Intensity and they had one, and I was like, oh, I'm home that weekend. Like I'll go, I'll do it, whatever. And it was super fun. I won for the women and I got third overall, like with the men. So I was like, that was a lot of fun. But I've spent years traveling around the country and internationally climbing in competitions and like having to scrape money together for that and like not winning a lot of money. So in my 30s now, I'm not like trying to do that with ninja as well. Like I've
I
already
get
done
it.
that in another sport and I just can't do that anymore. So as
That
fun
makes
as
sense.
it was, like if there was one competition that was near me, I'd be like, oh, like if I'm home, whatever, I'd do it. But I've already done that. I don't need to do another like many years of that. But it's
Yeah, I
cool
hear
that
you.
it's there for people to compete and everything because not everyone's had that same experience that I've had. So,
Right.
but yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, the testing aspect though is like really important, and I could see how that could be frustrating. And I definitely heard about things from other people from those competitions where things like that happen, like you were talking about. And yeah, it all comes down to just making sure you're testing in a well-rounded manner, I guess, and like thinking about everyone who's going to compete.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, the bottom line is like people are still going to fall on the first obstacle if they're
Yeah,
nervous, if they're
exactly.
not really not ready for it.
Yeah.
But being able to, yeah, it just comes down to honing in our sport. Like you said, I do think ninja as a sport outside of the show is going through growing pains. So
Mhm.
I'm very happy to be a part of it. Like
Yeah.
I'm thrilled to see how it's going to keep developing, and I
Hmm.
hope that things like this, like talking to you right now, and just different ways to discuss this stuff will help
Hmm.
us move forward.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
And
yeah.
obstacles
Anything
are so
else?
crazy, right? Obstacles are just like anything can happen at any time. So no matter how good you are, no matter who you are, like whatever, things
Hmm.
happen and you're like, whoops, I mean, now what? And it just like happens. So, and it's just
Yep.
bizarre in that way. Like most sports aren't like that. So you're dealing with a different
Yeah,
animal.
totally. Very true. Yeah. Do you have any last words of advice? I want to ask you my last question on this sheet here is, what is your best advice for other girls going after their dreams? But if you have any other thoughts before we get to that question, go for it.
um, yeah, I mean, I've always just thought that everyone, if they have a specific dream, like you have to go for it and just commit to it fully. And also sometimes I think it's good to remember that when you have dreams, sometimes the path in which you get to it might not be how you thought it would go. But if you're always still like working towards that dream, you're still progressing. And that's important to just remember that you're actively working for it and that things don't happen overnight, right? Generally, I guess sometimes they do, but it's pretty rare for things to just like poof happen and you're like, oh my god, this was my dream, you know. But like for me, for example, I've always wanted to be an actress, and I still think that like what I've been doing this whole time, I'm still like inching towards it, right? um Even though like it might not have gone the way, like I never thought I would model, definitely never saw myself on Ninja Warrior. Now I'm like broadcasting, so it's like things happen in progressions, so you just have to like keep focused on what you want and commit to it and just like be determined and don't give up because life's hard. You can't give up. It's just really hard sometimes.
Yeah. No, it's true, and that's solid advice.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I mean, everyone's going to fail, and you just got to learn from it and keep going. Stay positive. Some days you can cry because that's also cathartic. I'm a fan of crying occasionally because sometimes you need it.
Gotta just let it out sometimes. It's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, one quick thing. Where are you doing broadcasting stuff? Are you for
Yeah.
ESPN or for something else?
So I do broadcasting for USA Climbing and ESPN, and then also the IFSC which is the International Federation of Sport Climbing. So that's for like World Cups and stuff. Yeah, those are the broadcasting things I'm doing. It's so much fun because obviously I love climbing, and if I can't be out there climbing, I'm definitely happy to be talking about all my friends out there climbing.
Yeah, totally. No, it's so funny because I remember in Tacoma the first year, so 2019,
Yeah, that
season
sounds right. Yeah.
11. I remember talking to you for a couple minutes in the Ninja Holding warm-up area, and you said something about really, really wanting to do commentating. And I didn't know at that point, like, for where exactly, but to hear you say now all this stuff that you're doing, like, that's really awesome. So congratulations.
Thank you. I mean, what I also really want to do is I want to commentate. I want to be on the sideline for Ninja Warrior. That's what I would also love to do.
Yes.
If they called me up tomorrow, I'd be like, cool. That was my last competition. I'm like hands down. If they called me, I'd be done. I'd be like, cool. That's awesome. I would love that. I said that the other day, and Jerry was like, that's crazy that you would literally just stop competing. And I was like, is it though? I would love to be the sideline host, but whatever.
I mean, you do a great job.
Thanks.
Wait, okay. So what's your dream sideline host outfit?
Oh, well, that's hard. Ooh, I'm weirdly like picturing myself in some sort of like jumpsuit right now, but with like a platform sneaker or something.
I feel that.
That'd be dope. Yeah, I know. I always love the outfits. They're so cute. I know. I'm so jealous. I just love talking. I would love to just talk about people on the obstacles. And I also think I don't know how crazy their schedules are, but I think I could also probably test and do that at the same time, because that's kind of what I do for climbing. I often forerun the climbs and commentate. And like the forerunning part I just do because I want to. Like, I don't know, I don't get paid for that. I'm just like, cool, now I can climb on the boulders and get to talk about them. And then I get my workout in.
That gives you such a unique perspective though, when you're commentating. Wow, that's really cool.
I mean, oftentimes like I can just read the climbs as well and like kind of know what they want, but it is cool to be able to be on them and have that perspective for sure. So yeah, it'd be so cool if I, next time you run, I'm the one interviewing you. I mean,
I would love it.
We're just gonna like continue to put that into the atmosphere.
Yes. Don't worry, I'll send this recording to everyone I know.
Yeah, right.
All the
producers know that I want to do that, so it wouldn't be news to them. I like say it all the time.
It's funny. I love it.
But you gotta talk about what you want. Big believer in like saying what you want to happen.
Absolutely. Yeah. Good. Well, I'm a fan. I would totally think that was awesome.
Well, thanks. So. We'll have to make it happen.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Well, we're gonna move on to the last part of our episode, which is the bonus content for Patreon subscribers. So before we do that, I just want to say a big thank you, because this will finish out the regular episode. So thanks so much for being on, Meagan. It's been awesome to talk.
Thank you so much, Kara. I had the best time. I would say this was even more fun than the first one without the video. So
agreed.
Always fun to be here.
I like seeing your face.
Yeah, me too. Seeing your face, not mine.
I've been speaking in a mirror this whole time.
Be strong, be you, be a ninja babe. Yeah. What?
All right, well, we're going to move right along to our bonus content. So if you are a Patreon subscriber, you will find this bonus content in Patreon. If you're not and you'd like to be, you can head on over to patreon.com/ninjababes. And that is not only how you get bonus material and free gifts and fun stuff, it's also how you help support the production of the Ninjababes podcast. We've been going strong for now. This will be 102 episodes. And so it's amazing how far we've come. And it's to people like you who are willing to support and donate. So thank you.